This is Camnet News. Thank you so much for choosing us. My name is Sharon Kalimbola. The top stories on our desk this evening: the High Court judge chairs media from covering the CHAWAMA constituency election petition. CCZ condemns UPND cadres backing lawlessness as government maintains zero tolerance to violence. Patriotic Front Vice President LUBINDA schooled on governance after ranting on President HH. In international news, hundreds expected to honor former Burkina Faso President Sankara. And in sports news, Egyptian Mohamed Salah on point of Premier League goals record for Africa.
Are you a small to medium enterprise looking to advertise your products and services within your community and across Zambia? In these economic times, we are here to help you grow your business. Advertise with us on Camnet Market. Camnet Market is offering lower rates for prime time advertising between 06 to 18 hours every day to give your business an edge under the new normal and beyond. For more details, contact us on the following numbers: 097 975 3010 or 096 296 5883, as well as 096 244 726. You can also reach us via email on info@camnettvafrica.com. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Once again, thank you for choosing us. Traders at CHAWAMA market have called on government to construct a modern market, describing the current one as deplorable. In an interview with Camnet TV, the traders say government should implement the promises made to the people before the elections, among them the construction of a modern market in CHAWAMA constituency. Meanwhile, the traders say most informal businesses have been negatively affected by the COVID-19 pandemic as a result of stalled businesses when the pandemic was at its peak.
One of the key characteristics of informal employment is the interpenetration between productivity and reproductive dynamics, activities, and realms. The ever-growing reality of informal employment forces people to reflect and revise theories of value generation and ultimately the basis of exploitation worldwide. That said, traders at CHAWAMA market in CHAWAMA constituency have called on the government to construct a modern market to trade from, stating that the one they are operating from is in a deplorable state.
Manje hapa mafuta yametupitamo naisi watu yanganeko mwanje but tuvulisa doti ndiye metugulisa tulibe chili chonse chametulipo mwamene umutusokele manyumba pamene hapa tuje na kuti watu yanganeko naisi ndisevantu deya kuti watupase ko kangono na market watu yanganeko ma market tuzafika ntawu ya mainza tuzamboloka wasochati.
They say government should consider the implementation of the many promises made, amongst them the construction of a modern market pre-elections.
Women empowerment bakungotire mandrama sizonekera mwandi naisa ndifuna bamene batandizira banzatu bamene bambera izo batandizire ko pano pa market nakutika kusanka tribalism liko lezo kamano kadalism sisi so naisa batarakanire ko batandizira banzatu.
Economic development promotes social equality among the masses so that there is an equal distribution of wealth and income and people enjoy some quality of wealth, status and livelihood. Blessings Chakwila, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Patriotic Front Chasefo constituency candidate in the just ended 12th August 2021 general elections, Thomas Mutonga, has described the political ground in Zambia as hostile for persons living with disability. In an interview with Camnet TV, Mr. Mutonga, who lives with visual impairment, has called for early sensitization ahead of the country's next general elections, stating that people living with disabilities are seen as incapable of carrying out political duties, hence being discriminated against. Mr. Mutonga has also called on stakeholders to identify and begin engaging people living with disabilities in order to empower them with skills such as public speaking and resource mobilization, in order to see more people from this group participate in elections. Zipporah Mushala filed this report.
Various inequalities characterize Zambia, such as the gap between the rich and the poor. However, another inequality between the abled and persons living with disabilities also exists, perhaps often overlooked. For many years, persons living with disabilities have sought representation in decision-making positions so as to have their voices heard. According to the Zambia Federation of Disability Organizations, only 13 people from this group were adopted for different positions in the 12th August 2021 general elections. Patriotic Front PF candidate for CHAWAMA constituency in the just-ended general elections, Mr. Thomas Mutonga, narrates firsthand how this group of people face discrimination when aspiring for political office. Mr. Mutonga, who is living with a loss of vision, states that this group of people face discrimination on the political scene.
The discriminatory remarks that probably the opponents would be using. You see, for instance, in my case, they would go around telling people, how can you vote for a blind person? Okay, and you know, this is an area which is rural, and people are filled with myths and beliefs. So when they hear that somebody is even emphasizing such a point, that will actually take them away. Even when obviously they will be sure that they were mesmerized at my bravery to stand. There is need to sensitize the people to understand that a person with a disability can perform like everybody else. So you find that these are the same people who have stereotype beliefs that a person who is disabled cannot do anything. He is useless, and that's why they keep them in their homes. So for them to see someone like myself trying to stand, they would be thinking about, you know, the people that they have in their homes, the people that they've kept, and the people that they see that they do not do anything.
Meanwhile, Euphrasia Mbewe, who lives with a lack of speech, states that she faced financial constraints when she aspired to stand for Kawata constituency in the just-ended general elections, and has called for financial support for persons living with disabilities to enable them actively participate in the political process. Ms. Mbewe adds that due to constraints that this group of people face in their everyday life, accessing funding is difficult.
Government should support people living with disabilities through education, business, but the problem is the budget that they always put. There's just a small portion that goes towards the Zambia Agency for Persons with Disabilities. It's like they've forgotten us. In their speeches, they are not including us. The time they were opening the parliament, they did not even talk about us. So as persons with disabilities, I would like the government to include us.
Meanwhile, the Disability Rights Watch, in conjunction with the Zambia National Women's Lobby, have begun a capacity building workshop for persons living with disabilities ahead of the country's next general elections, and have called for more stakeholders to come on board. Zipporah Mushala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Opposition Third Liberation Movement has called on the United Party for National Development Administration to be transparent so that citizens are not kept in the dark on their developmental aspirations and government expenditure. In an interview with Camnet TV, party president Enoch Tonga states that while it is commendable that the new administration is open to the media, citizens want to see clear plans laid down on how the government of the day plans to realize its campaign promises. He has also called for more stakeholder consultations, stating that players in the country's governance system should not be left out as they hold wealth of knowledge needed to develop the country.
The Third Liberation Movement have not seen any clear difference whatsoever, existing in line or in comparison with the previous past regime of PF under one Edgar Chagwalungu, the activities, the performance, or the execution of the activities of governance under Mr. Hakainde Hichilema are not very clear. He is not very particular. He is not very transparent. So we are concerned as a political party that if indeed we were to progress as a nation, there is need for Mr. Hakainde Hichilema to be more clearer on his plans for this nation. I think we are seeing more of talking from him than actions. We would want to see a leader who is going to engage a lot of stakeholders, because that is the way we are going to develop the Republic of Zambia.
Vice President Mutalena Lumango has justified the delay by President Hakainde Hichilema to appoint people in various government portfolios, saying the president wants to make the right decision. Speaking during the Vice President's questions on the floor of Parliament, Mrs. Nalumango has called on Zambians to exercise patience. She says President Hichilema is keen on ensuring that professionalism prevails under his leadership. Meanwhile, Mrs. Nalumango says after 50 years in government wants to see the United Party for National Development Administration leave a legacy of peace and civil politics where people are free to express themselves. She says violence has no place in the new Dawn government. The Vice President was responding to a question from Pambashe Member of Parliament Ronald Stotela, who wanted to know what government is doing to curb political violence.
Of Hakainde Hichilema is taking too long to appoint. It is for this reason that President Hakainde is taking great care in appointing people into offices, so that he does not end up with the same kind of situation where people think, one, that there is witch hunt, where people think that it is only about cadres. He is working to ensure that the right people are appointed into offices. So through you, Madam Speaker, I would like to call out to the public that take your time. People, the right people will be in the right offices. I will not shy away, Madam Speaker, from saying there are political offices. And if you are appointed politically, you are removed politically. We need a case-by-case scenario. The statement Honorable Member for Pambashe you have made is a little general, but we have law enforcement departments or officers. They should not condone, because from this side of the house, we will not condone violence. We want to leave a legacy after 50 years of having, I thought my son will Madam Speaker, we want to leave a legacy of peace, a legacy of civil politics, where the difference is of opinion, the difference is of ideals, not difference, Pamaka, I'm sorry, not a difference, not a difference of who is strong.
United Party for National Development Chairman for Elections, Gary Nkombo, who was in Petaoke District, Eastern Province, to drum up support for a UPND Kaumbe constituency candidate, has refuted claims that government is going to phase out social cash transfer funds for vulnerable people. He explains that the social cash transfer funds are purely a government fund aimed at cushioning the impact of poverty among the vulnerable people, and that there was no way the program could end. Mr. Nkombo noted that government is committed towards ensuring that the number of beneficiaries in the social cash transfer is increased in the district from the current 10,534 households that are on the program. And UPND Petaoke District Chairman Bernard Sakala explains that campaigns in Kaumbe are being conducted in a peaceful manner, and refuted claims by the opposition political parties that campaigns in Kaumbe constituency have been characterized by political violence.
Tembe mavoti amene wanapita wakaende kupita walungu tembe si anafike kwa 1 million vote. Asauka by UPND wakaende badasiya kubaforesa abantu. Ife wa UPND dife tinayamba nkani ya ndalama ya mwasauka inaambira kukalomo bwera kuna maboza wa PF kuti mukawavotera bazacho sandalama za mwasauka ni boza etizapeleka forward kupasa ndalama ya mwasauka siza CIA pempa chende pamoja imwe na hivi niye chametu pempa kwa sila the first budget yatu ichoka hapa mu Friday next week Friday muzazi onera imwe kuti budget ya UPND ise usandalama kuchoka kuja kulusaka kuleta kuno ku bantu ndalama izabwera ku Kaumbwe kupetauke district.
These allegations to say in Kaumbwe there is violence. It is not like that. Campaigns in Kaumbwe are going on peacefully and the people are enjoying these campaigns. So to those opposition political parties who are claiming that is not the truth.
Meanwhile, United Party for National Development Alliance Media Director Tawo Kawana has charged that the Opposition Patriotic Front is not ready to offer credible checks and balances to the ruling party. Speaking to Camnet TV, Mr. Kawana notes with disappointment the statement issued by Mr. Lubinda Thursday over the non-existence of the UPND alliance and moving of the Drug Enforcement Commission to the Ministry to State House. Mr. Kawana explains that the alliance partners working with the UPND are at liberty to function in their respective parties, wondering how tables have turned when the same thing happened during the PF rule. Thursday, the PF Vice President, Given Lubinda, told a media briefing that the UPND alliance is an illegal entity challenging nominated members of Parliament to tell the nation which party took them to Parliament.
Prior to the August 12 general election, over 10 political parties joined arms to influence change of government through the ballot. Among the political parties include the Movement for Democratic Change, the National Democratic Congress, and the All People's Congress Party. Political parties rallied behind the United Party for National Development and called themselves the UPND Alliance.
And vote for this alliance on the 12th of October, August rather, 2021. Let us vote out lawlessness and promote the rule of law.
An alliance, in simpler terms, is a group of people or organization with aim of achieving a goal that could legally bind them or not. For 2 months now, the UPND has been closely working with its alliance partners, having seen some of them attain ministerial positions. However, Patriotic Front Vice President Given Lubinda Thursday challenged them by claiming that there is no alliance but only the UPND, thus calling it an illegal arrangement.
Reference to a non-existent body called the UPND Alliance Government is illegal in itself. There is no entity that the people elected in Zambia called the UPND Alliance. There was no UPND Alliance on the ballot paper. It was the UPND. And I'd like to advise the members of the Alliance, especially those who are sitting in Parliament, can they tell us whether they have actually resigned from their political parties?
In response to this insinuation, UPND Alliance Media Director Tawo Kawana advised Mr. Lubinda not to display his ignorance on matters he does not understand.
You must understand, maybe we also try and teach you, you as a law student, Mr. Lubinda, given that there is such a thing as a loose alliance, and an alliance is just basically a congregation of groupings and people coming together for a common agenda. And we did come together as various political parties, like-minded political parties, with a common agenda, which was to appeal to the Zambian people to vote the PF out of office, which the Zambian people did, and they voted you out of office. It is not a legal binding entity that stops other players from functioning and operating as individual political parties. So we don't know what you're talking about, but like we say, if you have nothing to say, it is always best to keep quiet.
Meanwhile, the UPND Alliance Media Director took time to provide feedback to the PF Vice President over the government's decision to move the Drug Enforcement Commission from the Ministry of Home Affairs to State House, according to the New Gazette.
To educate Honorable LUBINDA so that he desists from showing the high learning institution that he goes to, like they produce half-baked students, because him as the former Minister of Justice would have known better. I have in my hands here Gazette number 6526, dated 18th November 2016, and signed by President Edgar Lungu. And you can see that among the institutions under the office of the President is basically the Anti-Corruption Commission, the FIC itself, the Office of the Public Prosecutor, and many other offices that fall under the office of the President. So there's nothing new that has been done. What has been done, however, is that whereas in this Gazette, the Drug Enforcement Commission fell under the Ministry of Home Affairs, it has now been moved to come and fall under the office of the President, joining the rest, like Anti-Corruption Commission and others, so that it is no longer under the charge of the minister, but under the office of the President, and that guarantees that there is no interference. You cannot go to a minister and say, stop this from happening, stop the investigation. You are guaranteed sovereignty in as far as the institution is concerned, in as far as them conducting their works and investigations diligently. So there's nothing new that has been done here, Mr. LUBINDA. Take time to read the documents that you yourself presided over and printed. As Minister of Justice, probably were responsible for this same document that today you do not seem to know its contents.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
The Council of Churches in Zambia has condemned what it terms as the barbaric behavior exhibited by some United Party for National Development cadres who have been harassing individuals perceived to be members of the opposition Patriotic Front. CCZ General Secretary Father Emmanuel Chikoya has particularly condemned the closure of CHAWAMA's Debonair's Pizza belonging to former ruling party senior official Kebimbewe for not displaying the presidential portrait by suspected UPND cadres and the unruly behavior by protesters on the Copperbelt over the Black Mountain who allegedly harassed some police officers. The clergy has to this effect called on the police to rise above the occasion and do what is required of them.
Looking at the way things are unfolding, and if no decisive deterrent measures are put in place, we are likely to slide back to a situation where what the president has said and will say becomes just mere pronouncements. The security wings, namely Zambia Police, have been given orders to bring to book those that are championing violence and lawlessness. Why then is the situation not being arrested? Is it implying that our men and women in uniform have no capacity to do the job? Where really is the problem? Let the police rise to the occasion and do what is required and expected of them. The cadres that have been in videos, the cadres that have been seen in videos victimizing people can be identified and traced. Let all those who are found wanting be dealt with accordingly. We don't want to experience another wave of lawlessness hitting our country. That we will not allow, and we will pray against. To the cadres, do not let your bitterness consume you to the extent that you turn from being victims to perpetrators of evil. It is paramount for you to understand that you are now in government. You are no longer in opposition. Playing vengeance won't develop this country. We won't make much progress if we keep on dragging each other in the mud of the past.
Panos Institute Southern Africa is disappointed that despite Zambia ratifying the United Nations Convention on Rights of the Child, among other treaties, it has not done much to uplift the plight of children. PANO's Executive Director, Bosomozi Sifile, says child rights governance project supported by Save the Children, which has come to an end, has played a significant role in helping young people to know their rights and defend themselves. Mr. Sifile has since encouraged government and other stakeholders, including communities and households, to work together in identifying and addressing gaps in existing child protection systems at various levels in order to create a safer environment for children. Patrick Sonko filed this report.
Gender inequality, household poverty, and expansion of peri-urban populations are some of the systematic challenges to realizing the rights of children. The situation is further compounded by the high population growth, with a fertility rate of 4.7% per woman, leading to an annual population growth rate of 3.2%. Zambia subscribes to international instruments such as the United Nations Convention on the Rights of a Child and the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, but not much has been done to ensure the well-being of children. Non-state actors like Save the Children and PANOS have been playing a major role in complementing the government's efforts in responding to children's issues under the Child Rights Governance Project, whose implementation comes to a close. Speaking during the review of the project, PANOS Executive Director Bosomozi Sifile says the project has played a major role in empowering children in 6 districts.
So in this project, the Child Rights Governance Project, we did basically 4 things. So we mobilized various actors or various players to come together and work together to facilitate child participation in governance processes. Then we also facilitated knowledge building and awareness creation, because at times you find that people, decision makers, are not responsive to children's needs, not because they do not want to, but just because they are not aware.
Mr. Sifile encourages government and stakeholders to put in extra effort in ensuring that child protection systems at different levels are strong enough to provide children effective protection against abuse and guarantee them a better future.
We also have to emphasize that we will continue lobbying, pushing for the enactment of the Child Court Bill and all other related, maybe for the formulation and implementation of other policies that will contribute to the betterment of the environment for children. But we also are cognizant of the fact that laws and policies alone are not enough in terms of creating a conducive environment for the enjoyment of children's rights. Other stakeholders have to also come in to play a role. So
the project was further reviewed by the initiators, the implementers, as well as the beneficiaries. Patrick Sonko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
4 United Party for National Development cadres accused of beating a Patriotic Front cadre last month at the Magistrate Court Complex have pleaded not guilty to 1 count of assault. Robbie Chinyama, Chivuka Chinyama and Vincent Zulu, as well as Lakson Tembo, are said to have brutally attacked Nicodemus Chileshe on the 21st of September 2021. Mr. Chileshe is alleged to have been assaulted during the time he went to offer solidarity to Lusaka City Mayor Chilando Chitangala when her election was being petitioned.
After allegedly beating up their rival at the Magistrate Court Complex last month, a scene that looks like that of settling scores, the 4 UPND cadres, however, did not seem to be spared, as this action the following day landed them a place in jail and a date with the court. Friday morning, Robbie Chinyama, Chavuka Chinyama, Vincent Zulu and Lakson Tembo appeared before Magistrate Emma Masoja and pleaded not guilty for assaulting an opposition Patriotic Front cadre, Nicodemus Chileshe. Among this group, only 4 were arrested by the police and charged with the offense of assault, contrary to the laws of Zambia. They are alleged to have committed the offense on the 21st of September 2021 at the court premise shortly after the local election tribunal dismissed the Lusaka mayoral petition. Chileshe, who had gone on that date to offer his solidarity to Lusaka mayor, was allegedly beaten by the 4 after they had accused him of having been one of the cadres who used to perpetrate violence in marketplaces during the time the Patriotic Front Party was in power. Kafula, who is said to be an employee at the Lusaka City Council, was apprehended and taken to Ridgeway Police. Earlier, the court revoked the police bond of Vincent Zulu and granted him bail in the sum of 2,000 kwacha in his own recognizance for failure to follow the bond conditions. Trial is expected to commence on the 29th of October 2021. Miriam Kaimpa, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Outspoken social media vlogger Chitambala Mwewa has pleaded not guilty to defamation charges against CHAWAMA area Member of Parliament Tasila Lungu Mwansa. Mr. Mwewa is facing a charge of libel and cyberbullying, which he is alleged to have uttered against the lawmaker. Mr. Mwewa, who appeared before Magistrate Ndandose Chavala Friday morning, denied committing both offences. Miriam Kaimba once again filed this report.
Dragged to court by Tasila Lungu, daughter to former President Edgar Lungu, Chitambala Mwewa on Friday morning pleaded not guilty to a defamation case. In this matter, the accused appeared for plea before a Lusaka magistrate Tandosa Chavala, a case in which he is accused of having committed cyberbullying and libel against the CHAWAMA lawmaker by claiming that she was the unnamed councillor that the Drug Enforcement Commission accused of purchasing a named bank and all its assets worth 300 million kwacha. Mr. Mwewa is alleged to have published the said allegations on the 15th of September 2021 on his Facebook page. The lawmaker complained that Mr. Mwewa's statement published on his Facebook page was defamatory and bullying in the cyberspace, as the story was not true. He was slapped with the offense of libel, contrary to Section 191, and that of cyberbullying, contrary to Section 71 of the Cybersecurity and Cybercrime Act No. 2 of 2021. The matter has been adjourned to the 7th of December for commencement of trial. Meanwhile, the CHAWAMA lawmaker has also sued Mr. Mwewa and 3 others in the Lusaka High Court, demanding a withdrawal for alleging that she was the named councillor who purchased the said bank, and further, she is seeking an apology. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Still in court news, hearing of the CHAWAMA parliamentary election petition has commenced before the Lusaka High Court. In this case, UPND CHAWAMA losing candidate Port Fatembo has petitioned the elections of Patriotic Front CHAWAMA area Member of Parliament Tasila Lungu in the Lusaka High Court, citing malpractice and other illegal activities. Mr. Tembo seeks the court to declare that Ms. Lungu is not duly elected and therefore her election should be declared null and void. When the matter was called Friday morning, Judge Kazimbe Chenda denied all journalists who went to cover entry into the courtroom. Judge Chenda, however, did not advance reasons why the media were not allowed to cover the petition like any other. You're watching Camnet News. We take a set of commercials. Join me shortly.
Would you like to win some cool cash? Say no more. Stand a chance to win your share of 1 million kwacha. Simply make a transaction from your Zamtel mobile money account and you could be one of weekly winners of up to 10,000 kwacha. Be empowered with Zamtel mobile money. Dial *344# to activate your account. This promotion runs from 28th July to 31st October 2021. Zamtel, your digital lifestyle partner.
In our quest to save nations and develop Africa, Savenda is investing in the agriculture sector so as to produce supply for both local and international markets. housing over 12,000 pullets that are nurtured and fed with our locally made stock feed that comes from our own locally grown maize and soya beans, all processed from our recently installed milling and mixing plant. Our over 95,000 layers have an output capacity of over 1,500 trays of fresh eggs per day that are carefully selected and packaged for all the leading stores and supermarkets nationwide. Our greenhouses are fitted with the latest irrigation system, and the seedlings are nurtured to ensure only healthy plants reach the fields. With our deliberate planting schedule, we are better placed to supply constantly without interruption, thus reliable. Savenda Farms is also changing lives of its dedicated workforce drawn from the local community and beyond. So the next time you think fresh and green, think Savenda Farms.
Africa is rising to a new dawn of integrity and accountability. Are you tired of being swindled or buying fake or illegal properties? Would you like to sell or buy genuine property? Would you like to list your property on both local and international market? Don't waste your time. Call the professionals, the SGK Properties on +260 762 166 018. SGK Properties. Your business assurance is our priority.
You're still watching Camnet News. Thank you for staying on. The Ministry of Water Development and Sanitation says 1.4 million children die in the country each year as a result of the combination of diarrheal diseases such as cholera, dysentery and typhoid. Speaking during the commemoration of Global Hand Washing Day, the Ministry Permanent Secretary Mavuto Sakala says government is determined to ensure that the budgetary allocation towards water and sanitation is increased. Mr. Sakala adds that the ministry will strengthen the ongoing collaboration with cooperating partners in order to enhance the implementation of the current interventions on water and sanitation. Details in this report.
With the 2021 hand-washing theme being "Our future is at hand, let's move together," the COVID-19 pandemic has made the world realize the critical importance of hand-washing with soap. As the pandemic continues, urgent investment in better hand hygiene is needed to help society emerge from the shadow of COVID-19 and build a healthier and more reliant future. Ministry of Water Development and Sanitation says 1.4 million children die in the country each year as a result of the combination of diarrhea diseases such as cholera, dysentery and typhoid.
Acute respiratory infections, especially in children under the age of 5 years. The United Nations agencies such as the World Health Organization and UNICEF, who are privileged to be with us today, estimate that a combination of diarrheal diseases such as cholera, dysentery, typhoid, and acute respiratory infections such as pneumonia result in the deaths of 1.4 million children every single year. The majority of these fatalities are in developing countries such as ours.
And World Vision National Director has appealed to the members of the public to follow the Ministry of Health guidelines.
This can help protect you from all three. I've heard it said that soap is the most powerful thing, the most powerful piece of medical advice that there is. Now our friend over here from the WHO might disagree with me, but if we sit down and we wash our hands like the PS said, 3 or 4 or 10 times a day, you are highly, highly protected against all of these killer diseases. So I highly encourage you. World Vision, we brought a lot of these today. And so I think we're giving them to the school, we're giving them out. We've provided, as you see, through GIZ and the German government and UNICEF and others, World Vision, we've also provided a lot of the hand washing stations. Please use these. These protect you, not against just COVID, but against all these other things, diarrhea, which kills children.
Meanwhile, some pupils at CHAWAMA Secondary School have given the importance of hand washing.
Hand frequently, and coronavirus is real, guys. You must wash your hands every day when you're coming out into it. That's our hands.
Then after that, if you wash your hands, you can't have diarrhea, dysentery, cholera. So we have to protect ourselves from those diseases because they can infect you. So guys, be aware of washing our hands to avoid these diseases.
Global Hand Washing Day on the 15th of October is the annual day dedicated to the importance of hand washing with soap as an effective and affordable way to prevent diseases and save lives. Blessings Chakwila, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Government has assured its collaborative efforts in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. In a speech read on his behalf by Director Clinical Services, Dr. Alex Mokope, the Ministry of Health Permanent Secretary, Dr. Kennedy Malama says the ministry is open for engagements and collaborations with stakeholders. He said this during the launch of the Tracking COVID-19 Donations, Utilization and Vaccine Distribution. Meanwhile, Transparency International Zambia Executive Director Maurice Nyambe says his institution will continue to advocate for access to information to promote transparency and integrity in Zambia's response to COVID-19.
Since the pandemic, the Ministry of Health is on the leading role of the COVID-19 response interventions in the country. These include the donations, provision of guidelines to curbing the virus, among others. However, the general fight against the pandemic calls for every individual and institution's active responsibility. Friday, October 15, 2021, the Transparency International Zambia has launched its COVID-19 program in Lusaka. During the launch, TIZ Executive Director Maurice Nyambe has re-echoed the institution's position on advocating for accountability of resources going towards the pandemic.
Transparency and integrity in Zambia's COVID response. We will also advocate for accountability of resources going towards the pandemic so that appropriate action can be taken against anyone who is discovered to be corruptly profiting from this COVID pandemic. So working with law enforcement agencies such as the Anti-Corruption Commission, who have joined us this morning, we envisage enhanced citizen participation and monitoring of the COVID-19 response in a manner that is constructive and ultimately in a manner that helps to build better and stronger systems for future pandemic or emergency responses if they do indeed come.
In a speech read on his behalf by the Director Clinical Care Services, Dr. Alex Mokope, Minister of Health Permanent Secretary, Dr. Kennedy Malama, says the ministry is open for engagements and collaborations with stakeholders.
Only 5% of the eligible population in the country is vaccinated against the target at 70%. This is an issue of serious concern for us as a ministry, as we witness the first-hand and devastating effects of the COVID-19 on health, lives, and well-being. And it is the responsibility of all well-meaning Zambians to get vaccinated. This will also help in bracing the country as we prepare for the fourth wave of the pandemic, which is likely to hit this final quarter of this year.
Meanwhile, the Cooperating Partner World Bank Country Manager has assured a continued support to ensuring enhanced monitoring and oversight of the project's activities and expenditure.
Strengthening audits, financial monitoring. The governance and accountability action plan specifically ensures that the impact of those measures are enhanced through complementary actions on the demand side, through monitoring by civil society organizations and enhanced citizen engagement. With this objective, the World Bank team, as we've heard, has partnered with Transparency International Zambia and the Partnership for Transparency Fund to strengthen the monitoring of project expenditures and ensure that there is adequate engagement by citizens in the implementation of project activities.
Alex Shimba, Camnet News, in Lusaka.
The Young Women Christian Association of Zambia Executive Director Miriam Mwinga has called for the plight of rural women to be looked into, stating that while women in Zambia are poor and face various inequalities compared to the male folk, women in rural areas are even more vulnerable due to negative cultural beliefs. In an interview with Camnet TV, Ms. Mwinga notes that while women in rural areas account for about 43% of subsistence farming labor force in the country, many do not even own land. Zambia is commemorating the International Day for Rural Women, which falls on the 15th of October every year, highlighting the need to address various challenges faced by rural women, such as exclusion from leadership and exposure to harmful traditional practices.
It is widely recognized that while significant gains have been made in achieving gender equality in urban areas, this fight will need greater determination in Zambia's rural areas, as this is the place where modern rules such as those that advocate for women to have equal rights as men have no room in traditional setups. Women in rural areas, apart from being excluded from leadership and decision-making positions, are also often denied access to justice systems. Additionally, these people are made to accept harmful practices such as gender-based violence. Young Women Christian Association Executive Director Ms. Miriam Mwinga, while calling for gender gains made in the country to be maintained, states that the plight of those lagging behind, such as rural women, should be looked into. Ms. Mwinga adds that limited land ownership for these women should be addressed because while accounting for about 43% of subsistence farmers, only a few of them have land ownership.
I can go on and on. Even when it comes to land acquisition, you find that women do not freely have control over the means of production, including land, because they do not have land ownership. So there are many areas where we would like to see the government really take the needs of women into consideration, and we strongly believe that if that is done, we are going to see this country develop, because first of all, we are the majority. Secondly, even currently, if you look at the agriculture sector, the highest number of producers are women. And if you give a woman a chance, you see that they are really capable.
She has called for empowerment schemes in these places to be enhanced, stating that there is need to ensure economic emancipation of rural women.
The majority of entrepreneurs, small-scale entrepreneurs in the country, you find that these are women who are either single or are actually managing the homes through the meager incomes that they earn from the markets, from the roadsides, or from different places where they trade from. So we are actually encouraging the new government to put in place measures to ensure that women have access to resources that will enable them enhance their businesses, and we believe that this can be achieved through affirmative action, where certain loans can actually be deliberately provided for or set aside for women to revamp or enhance their small businesses.
Zambia is joining the globe in commemorating the International Day of Rural Women, which recognizes the need to ensure that these people are not left behind, even as various United Nations member countries aspire to gain gender equality in less than 10 years from now. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Zambia Road Safety High Group has charged that the Zambia Police Traffic Section must be reformed in order to curtail corruption and bring sanity on the road. Group admin Tony Sobanda notes that the police mount roadblocks in order to solicit bribes from the motorists. He says government must also work at harmonizing policy approaches in the transport sector to avoid issuing unsustained positions, like was the case on the issue of mounting roadblocks. Barely a month after the suspension of roadblocks by Home Affairs Minister Jack Mwimbo, Vice President Mutale Nalumango suggested that the system should be brought back, and Mr. Mtoniso has further called on government to find ways of expanding the roads in order to decongest Lusaka.
Look at the rush hour in the morning, you see people are spending an hour to 2 hours just to cover 5 kilometers. And we feel that government has to create they need to create more programs where traffic can flow. They need to create more policies where roads can be expanded. The presence of the police blocking highways is not welcome. There were incidences where the police themselves were actually run over because they were impeding smooth flow of traffic. As long as the traffic police section remains the way it is, corrupt and looking for ways of getting bribes, nothing will change. So we feel that there was need for them to reform the police service and ensure that what the Traffic Act says, where the police are doing road patrols, they are not blocking roads, they are not impeding the flow of traffic, is enhanced. Right now, where the roads are being blocked, you can see the damage on the roads because everybody is forced to stop. And then after stopping, they are cruising because they are trying to catch up on the time that they've wasted because of the roadblock. So we feel that there should be a way in which government policy is done to expand all the roads.
You're still watching Camnet News. We take another set of commercials. When we return, we'll look at international and sports news. Stay with us.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
At Savenda Express Printing, we have the capacity to deliver quality in all kinds of printing services timely. Our lines of production include screen printing, embroidery, lithography, and large format printing. We take pride in delivering quality work at very competitive rates with our in-house, highly experienced and qualified designers. With the ability to print full color and embossing prints, our state-of-the-art screen printing machines are able to print 1,000 pieces per hour. Our embroidery machines are able to print any logo with 1 or up to 12 colors all at once and has an output capacity of 100 pieces per hour. Savenda Express Printing also does large format printing for billboards, banners, vinyl, car stickers, posters, tire covers, cups, pens, bags, flasks, packaging boxes, and well, just anything that can need printing. For inquiries, give us a call on 0960 344 471.
Are you a small to medium enterprise looking to advertise your products and services within your community and across Zambia? In these economic times, we are here to help you grow your business. Advertise with us on Camnet Market. Camnet Market is offering lower rates for prime time advertising between 06 to 18 hours every day to give your business an edge under the new normal and beyond. For more details, contact us on the following numbers: 097 975 3010 or 096 296 5883, as well as 096 244 726. You can also reach us via email on info@camnettvafrica.com. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying on. Hundreds of people are expected to gather in Burkina Faso's capital to pay tribute to former President Thomas Sankara on the anniversary of his assassination in 1987. Sankara was a revolutionary Pan-Africanist who led the country in the 1980s. In other news, Cyclone Kamposu has left a trail of destruction in the Chinese island province of Hainan. It is the strongest storm to hit southern China this year, causing flooding and damage to buildings. Several people were killed when the storm ripped through the Philippines this week. Vietnam is now on alert.
For almost 20 years, this documentary on the assassination of former President Thomas Sankara was banned in Burkina Faso. No one dared to play it except for Abdoulaye Diallo. During the term of former President Blaise Compaoré, Diallo organized a parallel film festival to counter the government-run festival known as FESPACO. The Ciné Droit Libre, meaning the right for a free cinema, got in trouble with the government when it attempted to commemorate the memory of Thomas Sankara.
There was censorship. We were not supposed to touch upon politically sensitive issues. You had to be brave to even pronounce the name of Thomas Sankara. We tried to do a special show on him, and within 15 minutes, the Presidential Guard stopped our gathering.
Despite President Compaoré's attempts to censor and remove Thomas Sankara from Burkina Faso's history, he has become a celebrated figure. Described as the Che Guevara of Africa, Captain Sankara took power in a coup in 1983 and set out bold reforms, cutting ties with international aid money and striving for self-sufficiency. The left-wing soldier shunned former colonial power France in favor of closer ties with Russia and China.
Thomas Sankara was inside this building holding a meeting with his collaborators when he heard jeeps roll in and gunfire. He came out and stood here, raised his hand up in the air, and told his collaborators, "They're after me." He was then gunned down. We know this because his body was exhumed and an autopsy was performed. The corpse was riddled with bullets. Up until then, the government's official line was that he had died a natural death. This has become now a site to remember and pay tribute to what is now an African icon.
35 years after his death, the trial of his murder began on Monday. The head of the Presidential Guard, General Gendere, who censored artwork and films on Sankara, is now on trial for assassinating him. Also accused but absent is former President Compaoré. He lives in exile in neighboring Ivory Coast after being ousted from power in 2014 in a popular uprising.
It's important also to know the truth, to make the justice happen. If we have to punish some people, they have to be punished. But we have to, to take care of this matter.
In 2017, French President Macron promised to declassify secret documents linked to Sankara's death, but only a third of them were given to Sankara's family lawyers. For Diallo, shedding light into the uncomfortable truth of Burkina Faso's past is the only way to move forward, in order to ensure that history does not repeat itself again.
It was a rundown building in a working-class neighborhood. Now it's a burnt-out shell. The cleanup continued throughout the night after this block in Taiwan's port city of Kaohsiung was engulfed by a huge fire. Residents say it was home to poor, elderly and disabled people. Many who survived are now left homeless. Tsai Su-chin had managed to escape the flames.
I've never seen a fire. I pressed on the elevator button. When I got downstairs, I saw the building burning. The fire was very big. There was no power.
It was a scene of chaos. Locals say they heard an explosion at 3 a.m, followed by a fire that raged out of control. Daybreak. People were still being pulled from the building. It had taken hundreds of fire crew and rescue workers more than 4 hours to dampen the flames, and most of the day to confirm no more people were trapped inside.
Regarding the serious human losses caused by the fire at the building in Yangchang district, I feel incomparable pain, and I deeply blame myself. To all the wounded people, the dead and their families, as well as the citizens of Kaohsiung, I want to express my deepest sorrows.
Now quiet, so many are grieving the loss of life and a building that was standing tall for decades. Residents say it was once thriving, hosting restaurants, shops and a cinema. But over years, it became partly abandoned. While businesses moved out, many homeless moved in.
I feel quite sad. It used to be very affluent here, and then it somehow just turned into this. My family used to live here. Downstairs used to be quite fancy. There was an ice rink, even karaoke. Really nice. Now it's all gone.
Those living in this building were mostly homeless people of Kaohsiung, poor people, elderly people, and some disabled people. Normally, you don't see people in or out. There will be 5 or 6 drinking there, then arguing.
As authorities clear the glass from the streets, police are now investigating whether it was arson that had started this fire. Many look on, a tragedy that has left this port city grappling with the immense loss of life.
Coming to the end of its long track, Kompasu slammed into the southern Chinese island of Hainan. The strongest tropical storm this year to make landfall in China, it led to cancelled flights, trains and ferry services, with thousands of vessels taking shelter. As elsewhere along China's southern coast, government offices and schools were closed and businesses disrupted. Already soaked from another storm just days earlier, there has been extensive flooding, with thousands of people forced to evacuate homes. In the business hub of Hong Kong, the stock exchange was forced to close, with life only returning to normal on Thursday. Kompasu brought the city to a near standstill for well over a day. Passing over the open South China Sea, it maintained its strength, affecting a long stretch of China's southern coast. The storm began its destruction in the Philippines, causing extensive flooding and landslides in the northern island of Luzon, where authorities are still calculating the final death toll. Impacting northern Vietnam before finally dissipating in the highlands of Laos, Kompasu has brought nearly a week of damage to a large swathe of Southeast Asia, now relieved to see it gone. Rob McBride, Al Jazeera, Hong Kong.
Before we go to sports, here's an item just received. President Hakainde Hichilema has with immediate effect appointed Mr. Silumesi Muchola to act as Director General for the Anti-Corruption Commission for Administrative Conveyances, pending the appointment of Substantive Director General. Now, this follows the falling vacant of the office of the Director General upon resignation of the Substantive Director General of the ACC, Mr. Zachariah Kapeto Apiri, and upon the expiry of the contract of the Deputy Director General, Ms. Rose Kuzwayo, who has previously served as Acting Director General for a prolonged period. The President has invoked Section 12 of the Anti-Corruption Commission, Act No. 3 of 2012, to avoid a vacuum in the leadership of ACC. Under the Anti-Corruption Commission Act No. 3 of 2012, the President is mandated to appoint Director General of the Anti-Corruption Commission, who once appointed is required by the law to execute mandate as head of the ACC independently and impartially. The President has since thanked Mr. Zachariah Kapeto Apiri and Ms. Rose Kuzwayo for their service and implored Mr. Silumesi Muchola to serve diligently without fear or favor and in the interests of the Zambian people. Meanwhile, the President has also dissolved the ACC board with immediate effect and thanked the board members for their service to the nation. This is according to a statement issued by President Hakainde Hichilema's Special Assistant, Anthony Walia. For now, we go straight into sports news. Liverpool forward Mohamed Salah could become the top-scoring African in the Premier League history. One goal against Watford will be enough to equal the record, while two or more means the Egyptian will own it outright. That record is currently held by Chelsea in Ivory Coast legend Didier Drogba, who accumulated 104 goals over 2 spells with the London club before his eventual departure for a second time in 2015. Salah, who also has a previous affiliation with the European champions, has become one of the most Premier League's most prolific forwards since joining Liverpool from Italians Roma in 2017. Meanwhile, former Nigerian international Yakubu Ayebeni, who struck 95 Premier League goals, rates the merits of each player. Well, that sporting item ends our news this evening. The headlines once again. High Court judge chairs media from covering the CHAWAMA constituency election petition. CCZ condemns UPND cadres backing lawlessness as government maintains zero tolerance to violence. Patriotic Fund Vice President given LUBINDA scored on governance after ranting on President HH. In international news, Hungary is expected to honor former BURKINA FASO President SANKARA. And in sports, Egyptian Mohamed Salah on point of Premier League goals record for Africa. We now look at the Camnet verse for the day, and it's coming from Proverbs 17, verse 17 to 19, and it reads, "A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for a difficult time. One without sense enters an agreement and puts up security for his friend. One who loves to offend love strives. One who builds a high threshold invites injury." Well, that's all we had for you on the desk this evening. Thank you so much for choosing Camnet TV. Join us again tomorrow at the same time for the main news. Good night.